Hi, I'm John Mayfield, the real estate tech guy with another Global Real Estate School podcast. Okay, so still here at the DREI Summit, and David Catanzaro, I hope I pronounced your last name correctly. David, he has a school in Virginia and Hawaii, and I'll have the link to his information down below. He did a great presentation yesterday here at the DREI, really focused, and what admires me about, or what I admire about David, is you really, I think, you and I have the same passion for our students. We want them to pass, we want you to pass the test, I should say, but we really want you to be successful. And he had a great presentation that he does for all of his new licensees to really help get them up and running. But David, the question is, some of these folks listening haven't taken their test yet. They're right in the middle of pre-licensed real estate school. What would you tell them? You got to do this if you're going to pass that test.
I think that the key to the real estate preparation lies in the fact that we're licensed to protect the public. So this is a special education. Terminology is important. Agency, that special relationship we share with the client, is important. So look to that language in law and ethics that help us protect the client, as well as new vocabulary and specialized language.
Great. I love that. Thank you so much. Excellent advice. And we'll have David's information. David, it's been a pleasure to get to know you these last couple of days.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I programmed together Suzie Lieber. I hope I pronounced that correctly. You actually live here in Scottsdale, Arizona. We'll get back out of the way here. But Suzie teaches pre-licensed real estate school. Shannon, do you teach pre-license as well? Okay. So these are new students that are going through the real estate exam that listen to my podcast, and I'm asking different instructors here, because this is the best of the best. What advice would you give someone, or what do you tell the students, because you actually teach in this building across the hall? What do you tell them? You got to do this if you want to pass the test.
Read the question.
Okay.
In order to answer the question, just read the question.
Okay, good. Read the question. And Suzie, and your last name is?
Sharon, Carstens.
Oh, Sharon, pardon me. Carstens. And you're here in Arizona as well. So what advice would you give, Sharon?
I totally agree with Suzie. I also suggest that if they can figure out what the question's trying to see what they know,
right,
they'll have a better chance of asking. Because it's not random. Sometimes the way they word it, they think they're trying to trick us. No, that it's specifically asking if they know a law, usually.
Okay, good. Excellent advice. Thank you. And not only read it, but read it 2 or 3 times, right?
And the answers
and the
too,
answers,
right?
Right, yeah, good.
Look at those double negatives.
All right, thank you so much. All right, this is Lynn Elder, Director of Education
and Licensing for the North Carolina.
I want to say north or south. I have to, now where was Andy Griffith? Was he from South or North Carolina?
Andy Griffith, that's a legendary debate,
right, yeah.
But there is a city in North Carolina, Mount Airy,
okay,
which everyone claims is the original Mayberry.
Okay, thank you. So Lynn, who's a DREI, Distinguished Real Estate Instructor, really got me reignited with REEA, a few years ago when you came to Missouri. And he's a great instructor. He was my mentor, helped me with my DREI, and taught pre-license for years. My question I've been asking people around is, what does someone who's a student going through the course have to do to pass that test? Or what advice would you give them? Here's what you need to be sure and do if you want to pass that test.
I think a couple of things, John, that the students have to do if they want to be successful in the real estate exam. I believe every single real estate commission throughout the country issues a syllabus, an outline of the course that tells them precisely what's going to be tested over.
That's in the candidate handbook.
And what knowledge they need. Yeah, pull the candidate handbook. Start there. You need to read the candidate handbook for your state.
You know, I tell my students that, and they don't do that like they should.
We have a lot of students that unfortunately aren't aware of the valuable piece of information, but it not only tells them how the test is broken down, how many questions, and how the testing operates, it tells them for their particular state the process of licensing.
Right.
And what's involved and the right steps. It will relieve a lot of anxiety and
There's
answer a lot of
probably,
questions.
I hadn't thought about that, but there's probably 5 or 6, 7 questions just right out of that candidate handbook on the license.
Absolutely. And this is going to sound like crazy advice, and you're going to think I'm protecting a secret. Do not rely on what anyone else tells you about the exam. I'm going to say, including your instructor. I'm talking about specific questions. I hear all the time, people say, well, you know what was, they ask about this, or I know this is on the exam. All of our national testing exams today, PSI, Pearson VUE, there is no set exam. They're pulling from a database of questions. Each exam have all kind of metrics involved, right? Make sure it's equal and fair and the same weight of difficulty of questions and mix of questions. But the questions are randomly pulled. So what I always told students in class, here's your challenge. I've got to teach you 100% of the material. You will be tested over 10% of it. I don't know which 10% will be on your exam, because each of you will be tested over a different 10%. So John's 10% is going to look different than Beth's 10%. It's going to look different from David's 10%.
Right.
So it's okay. Well, they don't even ask you about that on the exam. Wasn't on their exam. Didn't mean it won't be on yours.
Good. Great points. So I'm here with Steve Oliver, DREI. You're from Oklahoma, right?
I'm from Oklahoma.
Yeah, next door to me. So what advice would you give a student who's going through the real estate course? What do you tell them? You got to do this, or what do you highly
The
recommend?
real estate course being the pre-license
Yes,
course.
to pass that exam. What's that one nugget you love to instill with your folks?
Probably the thing that I have them do at the beginning is go over the PSI outline and identify keywords. The building blocks of learning is vocabulary.
Yeah.
So the thing I start with is identify in every chapter before you read it, because you've got them at the front. What of these words? Which ones of these do I just not know?
Okay.
And then look up the definition, and then try to find some sentence that you can use it in, so you've made application of it.
I like that.
Then you've
That's
laid a
great.
foundation for
Yeah.
learning concepts later on.
Good. Excellent. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'm talking to Jim Hogan. Are you the Jim Hogan that started Hogan School of Real Estate here in Arizona?
The Ohio State University.
Yeah, that's right. I've gotten to know Jim this weekend, and man, what a great guy, and such interesting information, and started, I guess, one of the largest real estate schools here in Arizona.
Yes.
But what advice would you give a student, or what do you tell that new student? If you want to pass that test, you need to do this. So listen intently, because Jim will have some great wisdom for us.
Well, first of all, obviously the big word is study.
Right.
But ask questions. Ask pertinent questions. Don't just read material. Don't just read material. Unfortunately, memorization has become a dirty word, and people don't know how to memorize. But for a real estate exam or any other little professional exam like that, people, and there's so much vocabulary that they need to actually memorize terminology at two levels: the basic definition, and then how it applies to the real estate situation.
Okay, great.
And then, if I may, I'll also add what they shouldn't be doing.
Okay, no, that's great.
They shouldn't be just reading the material, because especially in bulk, they should read a few paragraphs or a page or two and then ask some questions about it. Write those questions down so they can bring them to class. And then number two, they should never memorize questions, never memorize multiple choice questions.
Right.
because those questions are not like the questions on the exam. They're designed to assist them with the topic, but memorizing questions is a great way to fall flat on your face on the exam.
Excellent. Great advice, Jim. Thank you. And his first suggestion was study, which is probably great to do. So excellent advice. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, John.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the podcast for Global Real Estate School. I'm John Mayfield, the Real Estate Tech Guy. Go out and make it a great day.